Welcome to this episode of In the Loop. Today, IA publisher Gary Robinson meets John Westwood from Blacktower Financial Management.
Hello and welcome to IA In the Loop podcast. Today from the ARC Studios on Drury Lane, and I'm with John Westwood from Blacktower Financial Management. Welcome, John.
Oh, good morning, Gary, and thank you for inviting me.
Where have you come in from today? Because you're a jet setter. You always seem to be in somewhere sunnier. So welcome to London.
I try to be, yes, yeah. No, I've flown in from Gibraltar for a week's work in London. So I've left the weather in Gibraltar to join the weather in England, which is just as bad.
Gibraltar's great. Is it raining over there?
It's terrible.
Is it really?
The weather is absolutely appalling. Yes. Every
time I've been, it's been like too hot, like far too hot for me. I'm a Lake District boy. So tell me a little bit about, before we get into this interview, tell me a little bit about where you're based then, because you've got based in Portugal, you've got Gibraltar, you've got Dubai, you've got all four corners of the planet, it seems. Yeah. Where are you based and why are you based there in particular?
Yeah, sure. We try and base ourselves mainly in Gibraltar because that allows us to get back to Portugal as often as we like to. It's a short drive away. And Lindsay and I and the family like to be at our home in Gibraltar as much as possible. Sorry, in Portugal as much as possible.
So Gibraltar, how far is it then? What's the drive like from Gibraltar?
It's about 3.5 hours door to door.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's very simple. Very easy drive.
I never really sort of... I always seem to imagine that Portugal's further than it is, but obviously it's connected to Spain. Yeah. But Gibraltar's at the foot of Spain. Yeah. So you just nip across a 3.5 hour drive.
Yeah, it's pretty much a motorway all the way through. So it's a very simple journey.
So let's talk about the 40 years of Blacktower.
Yeah.
I mean, first off, many congratulations on that. What an incredible achievement.
Thank you.
In cross-border international financial services, companies come and go all the time. Blacktower still going strong, in fact, probably stronger than ever. Yeah. What is it that's been the key to Blacktower lasting this 40 years?
I think having some pretty strong principles about the way things should be done and combining that with a very, very strong management team. I think that has been our sort of a big factor in our success, is keeping it straight and narrow and keeping it client-centric with management backing up those principles all day long.
And you use that term quite freely, and it does seem to be at the heart of everything that you do. What does that mean, client-centric? So you term our hero.
Well, our origins are from the UK as a business. So back in the day, 40 years ago, we started as just a UK business. We followed our clients. We went international, but we did things in a UK fashion. As the UK has developed and evolved over the years with different ways of working for financial advisors, we've kind of followed those principles as well. So the core principle running through the group is very much centric on creating positive outcomes for our clients. And I think sometimes the international space has kind of lost that view a little bit over the years. And we kind of stayed on the track.
It's interesting, isn't it? You would think that's just a no-brainer. Do the right thing for your clients. When you say the industry, over the years the industry may have lost its track. What sort of happened? Because you've been around for 40 years now.
Yeah.
What sort of happened? Is it just straightforward? A bit of greed, a bit of kind of selfishness?
I think possibly some of that, but I think also the regulatory environment has also been patchy. So in the early days, there wasn't a lot of regulation. You could paratroop into most countries and do business and paratroop out again. I think what we've seen over particularly the last 10 years is the introduction of meaningful legislation, cross-border legislation, regulators locally in various jurisdictions becoming much more interested in what you do. And that has created a different sort of atmosphere within the industry and a different platform that you have to work towards. So I think regulation has helped enormously. we continue to deal with regulation in an evolving basis, but that has changed the face of the way most people work now.
It's interesting the way the regulator has changed. I mean, do you feel now that, because there's been a them and us in the past with regulation, do you feel now the collegiate approach is really happening, particularly in Europe and and places like that, and also when you're looking at regulation, because you've got how many different regulated entities? Nine altogether. So it's hard to talk about one in particular, but do you feel the collegiate approach is actually really meaningfully happening?
Yeah, I think the approach we take as a group and as a board is you have to cooperate and be communicative with your regulator, and you've got to be transparent. And I think if you adopt that business approach with them, they'll adopt a much more approachable stance with you. So if we are unsure of something, we need guidance, we need advice, or if we're going to do something in the marketplace which we feel they will be interested in, we'll go and talk to them first. Explain our business plan, explain what we're doing, and get really approval prior to taking those actions.
Yeah, I think that is important. I think we're looking back over 40 years. Let's whiz all the way back, right? And let's go back to John Westwood, young John. What made you get into this? Tell me a little bit about your background first.
Sure. Well, I've got to try and remember it first of all. But I mean, I came into the industry in a really strange way. My background was civil engineering, and I worked for a big construction company that was backed by a bank called Schroders, because the construction industry was in a little bit of difficulty. So I got back from Sri Lanka, where I was working, and didn't really have a job, to be fair. Well, we didn't know we were going to have or where we were going. And I got talking to guys at Schroders who had just launched a company called Schroder Financial Management. And it was the early days of unit-linked life insurance selling. So I joined Schroder Financial Management as a consultant, and they trained me in unit-linked pensions and life. And that was the start of my career.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Just whiz us through those footnotes of your career. So Schroders, I mean, great company. One of the, like you say, one of the first. There seemed to be just a handful, didn't there? Yeah. Because I used to be an advisor myself. I used to be an advisor, and I was an IFA. I was a tied agent for most of my advisory career, but then I was an IFA, and it seemed to be like Norwich Union that were big at the time, and Standard Life, and Schroders, but there wasn't a rep came to us from Schroders, and Invesco Perpetual, or Perpetual as it was then. So what was that like, and how did you move across into into being an IFA? Yeah,
I think the business we had within Schroder Financial Management was quite good, to be fair. Our competitors in those days were Abbey Life and Allied Dunbar. So we sort of met them head to head. It was the beginning, really, of independent financial advice being more sustainable in the market. And there was FINBRA was born, and there was a thing called A-Day, which was the regulatory introduction day from FINBRA. We just decided, with really the cooperation of Schroders, to set up our own company, but still work with Schroders, but become an independent financial advisor.
Ah, right, okay.
So that's simply what we did. It was all very easy then, to be fair.
I remember it well. I mean, I started out, and I remember when the fact find became like they introduced that, and the advisors, the older advisors I was working with, were up in arms. Yeah. And it was a one-page fact find at the time.
Very much so.
So we kind of moved from that. It does sort of seem quite scary, doesn't it? That we're talking in the UK now, but before we move internationally, that you could just take out an investment almost over the shop counter whilst buying, a bicycle or it was all very straightforward, all very raw, really. I mean, I can remember the days where I was very nervous about asking how much money somebody had. How can you do that? And so we came from a very different background, but of course it's evolved enormously from all those very raw days. But So take me. You set up your own business. Take me through the kind of the chronology of, just some kind of bullet points leading us up to present day.
Yeah, sure. We set up the original company. I left Schroders with 3 other guys, and we set up the original Blacktower company.
Why Blacktower? What was the...
Blacktower was a name that Schroders kind of had banning around in-house. It was the original coffee shop where merchant banking was born, basically.
Oh, right, okay.
And it was up at Blackfriars. The building no longer exists, but it was... I remember being in Schroders, and on the wall there was all these Blacktower coffee shots of the merchants talking to the captains of ships, selling their wares.
Yeah.
And it was the origins of merchant banking. So,
fantastic.
yeah, and it's a name that people remember, so we thought, well, that will do. we evolved.
Good choice.
Good choice, yeah. We evolved from there. The firm was quite successful in its early days, and then sadly the guys I was working with, the partners, one passed away and one had terrible ill health. So I bought the company out from the other shareholder and the shareholders' families that were still there.
Yeah.
And went on my own, and that was actually in 1996. So 86 is when we started. 96 is when I bought the group out, and that's how it all began. Yeah.
So from there to present day, because it feels like I've known you a few years. I've been covering this part of the industry for the last, it's coming on 10 years now,
sure,
which seems like longer. And prior to that, I covered the UK. I had some time out. I was kind of a filmmaker doing video, etc. for a bit, and then came back into the international space. Now, you've stayed in the international space and had a foothold in the UK as well. Tell me how all these different offices evolved. How did that work, and what made you branch out?
What we
globally?
wanted to do was create as far as we possibly could sort of a global footprint for our licensed entities. And that being the reason we were doing that is we wanted to follow the clients and never be in a position where we would lose a client to a jurisdiction within which we couldn't work. I mean, that's the ideal. It's not possible everywhere, but it's the ideal. So markets like America, markets like the Caribbean were very much driven by clients going there and us wanting to continue to serve. So the European market was pretty easy to expand through because of the passporting regulations. That wasn't so hard. So basically the business model was create these regulated hubs around the globe which could act as centres for us to service within the expat communities resident in those locations. We tended not to deal with nationals of those particular countries, so we probably wouldn't deal with an American in the early days. Now we will. But what we would in the early days deal with a Brit living in America, and that was kind of our forte across the whole of the group. And really, it became a business model that we got very used to doing, very used to making licensing applications, so it just became part of the expansion process, part of our business model. And I can't say it was easy, but we certainly went about it in a way that made it manageable from an operations point of view.
Do you think that, and forgive my knowledge here, so you still got a UK licence? Or you?
Yeah, UK licence, UK company. That's the original company.
So yeah. So you still got that going on. I think there's the song, the New York song, If I Can Make It There, I'll Make It Anywhere, kind of came in my head. The reason being that if you're regulated in the US and the UK, you can kind of, if you can get those licenses through and you can operate there, especially the US, which to me seems a scary marketplace because of the double taxation, because of the, if you can do that, you can work anywhere in the world. Is that a truism? Is that something that's been a good platform for the rest of the entities that you've managed to get?
Yeah, I think, in fairness, America came after Europe. I mean, Europe was our original footprint and our speciality, and we based that from Gibraltar. In those days, Gibraltar was passported into Europe. Courtesy of Brexit, that was stopped. We then transferred the business.
That was fun, wasn't it, John?
It was lovely, yeah. Such a wonderful part of my life that was. We transferred that whole business model over to Cyprus and created 2 new companies in Cyprus. So we were pretty successful throughout Europe, and Europe was one of the reasons we created Nexus Global, our network as well, as a second string to our commercial bow, as it were. And once we kind of completed the business project in Europe, wasn't much else to do apart from grow the business. We then went to the States and looked at that business model. So at the States, the SEC, we dealt with them directly. They were pretty good to deal with, but very firm. So when you were in a meeting with the SEC guys, you kind of knew exactly what they wanted to hear, and you made sure you obey by the regulations. There's no messing around at all.
No, it feels that way. I just got scared off by. I made a movie and it was on Vimeo, and we didn't make much money from the movie. It was a documentary, like an adventure film where I drove to China. Another story. But I did this movie, and the money that was made on Vimeo from people downloading it, to access it, I had to fill out a US tax return. And in the end, I just went, you know what? Leave it. I'm not doing it, because I had the fear that you. And is this correct? You have to continually fill out a US tax return even if you only earn there for 6 months or a year, for the rest of your life.
The regulations are the regulations around taxation and financial aspects of life are incredibly complex and incredibly biased towards the US, and anybody in that situation really has to take professional advice. You can make a mistake so easily without really understanding why you've done so.
I think. So how does that work then? Do you have do you work with partners, tax advisors?
The company, we have 2 companies in the States, one for insurance and one for securities business or investment business. And we're heavily supported by our lawyers in New York and by our accountants down in Florida. So we do very little without their advice.
So tell me about the sort of last. So let's actually first off tell me about Nexus, because I'm really. I think that's a great business. I think you've got good people there, and tell me why that was necessary. Is that for people? It seems to me that for people that don't want to fully, they want the support of Blacktower maybe, but they don't want to fully sell up, and they want to keep a bit of independence.
Yeah, it's a business model that's very attractive. In some ways, you could almost say that we started the business by accident, in a deliberate sort of way. We were asked to set up a facility for an existing Nexus member, the first Nexus member that we ever had, who's still with us today. Very fine business. And we allowed them to set up their trading style, as it were, under our license to operate in Spain. That continued and became quite a successful little business in its own right.
Yeah.
We then decided and thought, well, why can't we build this out? And we put the infrastructure in place. I went to see the regulator in Gibraltar in those days, because it was pre-Brexit. And the regulator gave me permission to build out the business model throughout Europe, using Gibraltar as a licensing hub. So for us, we were very grateful for that permission to be granted to us. So we went out and created Nexus. And lo and behold, we obviously hit a part of the market that was wanting for something to be structured in terms of allowing appointed reps to trade under their own style and create their own businesses. It's very similar to the UK business model. It just didn't exist in the European space.
So how many businesses are part of Nexus now?
I think we have, under our license, 30 separate Nexus members.
Fantastic.
And it's growing.
So tell me how Blacktower has evolved over the last 5 years, because it does seem, and I really want to know a little bit about you as well. What kind of drives you? But first off, tell us how Blacktower's evolved over the last 5 years, and of course, leading up to the proposed purchase that is awaiting regulatory approval from Titan. Tell me about that period for Blacktower.
Yeah, sure. I think it's fair to say that Blacktower Group, pre-COVID, and in the 5 years leading up to COVID had enjoyed an incredible amount of success in our growth and our new client acquisition. So we were building and building and building. It kind of appeared to me that if you're doing that as a business, there has to be effectively some form of goal or end game you work towards. And when you looked at our industry, it doesn't really exist. Everybody's working and working to build their clients, build our but there's no end game. What do you do? There's no natural out for anything. So we kind of started looking at what that all meant as a family and as well as a business. Because what we wanted to do was not stop the growth, but make sure it was controlled and correct. Spent a lot of time pre-COVID working with a few people on that particular sort of arrangement. Had some success there. COVID hit, kind of stopped the business program for a little bit of time. Let's call it 2 years. And then as soon as that got out of the way, we started again. So we thought, okay, well, we can continue to grow. We can continue to do what we're doing at the moment. And that's all very fine. But what we wanted to do was actually then create a business that was incredibly robust financially as well as anything else. And I saw so many opportunities in the marketplace for us to really expand. You get to the stage in running any group like Blacktower, which has become quite substantial, where I think it is sensible for the founders and appropriate for the business to also then seek professional investment into the business. And I think that's the crossroads that we came to, thinking, okay, we can continue as we are, but if we're serious about growing the business and making it the bigger brand that I wanted it to be, we had to then consider external investment into the group. There's a natural business crossroads one reaches.
Yeah.
And that's where we got to. So we had some time discussing with various interested parties in the marketplace. We received 3 offers, I guess, in reality, to come and work with us, as I call it. And then we started talking to Titan. Well, you've read the press. You are the press.
We are the press. We brought the story.
You wrote the story, yes.
Yeah, thanks to you. I remember, and, you know, we haven't mentioned, let's mention Gavin, because Gavin and yourself are some double act. You know, you work incredibly closely together and seem to have this real sort of team ethic between you both. When did Gavin get involved, and what's he brought to the business?
Sure. Yeah, Gavin's a really important part of the company. When the whole management team, our directors are. Gavin and I have known each other many, many years as competitors when he was with Guardian and obviously me with Blacktower. But we've always been friends, you know, in the sort of friendly rivalry, I would call it. The opportunity came along where Gavin was no longer with Guardian, and we had a good chat about what we could do together, and I made him an offer. Would you come and work inside Blacktower and help me run Blacktower with the existing management to grow it to where it needs to be? And this is my business model and my business plan. He became interested in that, and we shook hands. So, yeah, he's a good member of our team. He brings different things to the company than I do, so we complement each other in different ways. But as a management team and a leader, as the MD of the group, yeah, he's a solid individual.
And of course, now living and working out of Dubai, how important is the Dubai, or has the Dubai footprint been to the business? Because getting a DIFC license is not easy.
No.
And it seems to me that, particularly in the ultra high net worth business, Dubai it's almost like the new. It's kind of everyone's there. I was going to say that it's like it's got this magnetic feel to it. Yeah. It's pulling everybody and everything into it at the moment. Yeah. Particularly given the challenges that the current administration in the UK have brought around taxation and particularly cross border. What is it about Dubai, and how important has that been to the growth of Blacktower?
I think one has to be clear here. I mean, within Blacktower's portfolio, Dubai didn't feature. It was very much Gavin who pioneered that particular market opportunity for us. he was very keen on getting back into Dubai, a market he knew before. From my point of view and the existing management team, we'd never been in the Middle East. So we had gone the other way towards America and LATAM. So we weren't experienced at all. So we needed Gavin really to lead that whole thing up. Gavin explained what he wanted to do, the business model. It had to be DIFC to make a difference from our point of view. And it had to be DIFC with retail permissions, which is what we set out to achieve. Hugely complicated, hugely expensive, and hugely time-consuming. But we got there in the end. So what does it mean? It means that we can complete the circle, really. So we have Caribbean and North America, we have Europe, and now we move into the Far East as well. Middle East and then on to Far East. So it's a natural step for us, I think, now. Although it has to be said, I probably wouldn't have gone there as quickly as we have gone there now because I didn't know the marketplace.
Yeah.
Very much Gavin's business model, business idea.
So I'm glad that that's worked out. Let's talk about the deal. So I've spoken about this with Gavin. We did a podcast with Gavin over in Dubai. We talked about the deal is still awaiting regulatory approval
And contractual agreement.
and what does that mean?
Okay.
To a layman like myself.
Yeah, it is a complicated deal because Blacktower is a complicated company because it has 9 separate regulated silos within it, a lot of money under management with advisors and clients, obviously. So we are not a straightforward one acquisition company. We're 9 acquisitions.
Yeah.
So there's a tremendous amount of due diligence that has to take place in any corporate finance deal of this nature, and we are subject to all of those due diligence programs at the moment. So on the buy side and the sell side, Titan and Blacktower, there is teams of lawyers and accountants currently working on pulling all of the correct due diligence information together, and that is in process as we speak. Once that's agreed, we will then hopefully go to share purchase agreements, contract, should we call it, get those agreed, signed, and then we go for regulatory approval. So there's a bit of a road ahead of us to travel down yet, I'm afraid.
So it's 9 deals at once, which sounds like fun. How do you keep on top of it all, John? And, look, the mobile phones are great, except when they go off when you don't want them to. We spoke about it before we came on air. That whole thing. Tell me how that works for you, because you start. Tell me how the day starts and how it ends, because it seems to me that people want a little bit of a piece of John Westwood from morning, noon, and night, don't they?
You can fall victim to that, I think, very easily. I mean, technically, you can. I could probably get up at 4 a.m. and start working with Gavin in Dubai, and
hang on.
then I could do.
Who gets up at 4 a.m?
I know exactly. I don't want to do that, but technically, I suppose I could, and then work my way through Europe during the day and the UK, and as Europe's closing down, start talking to the Caribbean and North America. So that's a ridiculous working scenario, and one can't do that. One can't continue to do that. What you try to do is have key points during the week, possibly also during the day, where you're talking to your local directors, your management team, keeping in contact with that whole scenario. Sometimes it means them getting up very early in America to work with me and vice versa. It is manageable, but it is also something you have to work at quite hard. I think probably you've also got to enjoy it, which is the weird one.
Now let's get to the important part of your world. Tell me about your other half, because she's very much involved in what you do. Tell me about her, and also your daughter as well is working in the business.
She is, yes, she is. Yeah.
Tell me about this family connection.
Yeah, sure. Lindsay joined the firm, over 20 years ago now, and because we're principally owned business, so Lindsay and I are the shareholders of the group. We tend really to be quite hands-on with a lot of things within the group, more on the financial side than other sides of the business these days. So what Lindsay does is Lindsay controls the banking. So the finance team in Gibraltar will prepare everything and go through everything, and Lindsay will work with the chief financial officer to authorise all of the capital that is moved around between the companies or payments out, which on a monthly basis, as you can imagine, is quite substantial. So I can rely on somebody there that I trust and I know, and obviously it's done correctly. So I think on an average week, Lindsay will be in control of about 50 different bank accounts.
Wow.
Which she seems to enjoy. I've never really asked her.
And of course, and when did your daughter get involved in the business?
Yeah, Holly ended up living in Portugal for her career pre-COVID, and then during COVID, because she was in the music and film business, and she went to Lisbon to do a load of film shooting for Marks and Spencers and Nike and things like that. Unfortunately, they lost the whole contracts because of COVID.
Yeah, absolutely.
Holly's always loved Portugal anyway. She lived in London but loved Portugal. So she came to Portugal during that period and never went home or never went back to London. So she lives in Portugal now, very happy. She's very artistic. She's a painter, really. So she does her own artwork and a little gallery of her own. But she does all of the graphic design for Blacktower and the magazine production and things like that. So
fantastic.
Yeah, she loves it.
I love, there's something about a family business. Maybe it's because my daughters have never got involved in my businesses. I've owned a few businesses in my past, and I used to own an art centre with my other half. I found it, and we worked 7 days a week, right? And I found it quite tough on the relationship. Do you know what? At the time, it just felt natural. We just got on with it. But, in hindsight, like my other half has her business, I have my business. And I've tried to bring her into the publishing world, and she's like, no, I'll carry on doing my business. I don't think she liked it as much. How do you kind of balance that? Because I think it was the fact that there was never any time off. When you were talking in your spare time, you were talking about work, How do you balance that? How do you switch off, John?
It really is a problem in terms of, you're living with somebody, you're working with somebody, it's also your other half, your spouse, and you're living, eating, breathing the business at the same time. That has benefits and there's also negatives there as well. I think Lindsay and I would agree on. You just have to manage it between you. You just have to manage it. I don't know the magic formula, but we seem to get on okay with it. I leave Lindsay very much to her part of the business. I don't get involved unless I'm asked for an opinion. And vice versa, of course. So I'm running my side of whatever Blacktower does. So
You've got the secret sauce somehow.
yeah, I guess so. We've done it for so long. I don't really know what we'd do if we didn't do it.
It's so funny, isn't it? Because I was going to ask you what's the secret, but if it's not, don't try and dissect it too much, because maybe it just works.
It just works. As I said, so I never try and fix it. It just works.
What's this thing about, what is it about Portugal that you love? Because I always think of Portugal, I always think of you when I look at Portuguese law, or, look at something happening within the property world in Portugal or whatever changes, and you always come to mind. What is it about Portugal that you love so much? Because you could live anywhere in the world, couldn't you?
Yeah. I mean, we spent some time over in the Cayman Islands as well, and I think we went to Portugal 25 years ago and built a holiday home down there, and just fell in love with the area and the country that we were living in, or had a holiday home in. I had the brilliant idea of opening up a branch of Blacktower as well, so there wasn't really many brokers down there, if any at all. So we did that at the same time. So we had a business interest and a lifestyle interest. And that really has just continued from that day. It's a part of the world that we both know very well. We love, have a very large circle of very good friends and family living there now, of course. It just feels like home. It's a very pleasant place to be.
In terms of business out there, there's been a few changes over the last few years.
Yeah.
But what's that like? It seems to me that there's a can-do attitude there. As an outside observer looking globally, and you think Portugal, what's it like? And is that can-do attitude still prevalent, or are there things that you'd like to see changed?
I'd like to see change, not really. I mean, perhaps some bureaucracy, but I mean, every country has its own bureaucratic problems, doesn't it? Portugal over the last 10, 15 years, particularly the last 10 years probably, has changed enormously in terms of infrastructure, sophistication, what's going on there, and the amount of people from different nationalities who are moving there and investing in the country. And that's really important. So I think what's been created by the non-habitual residency schemes, the golden visa schemes, is an absolute success story for Portugal. And the government recognise that. They're not going to do away with these schemes that allow expatriates to move there and move their money there as well, to be fair. So what you've seen in Portugal is a tremendous price rising, perhaps problem in property.
Yeah.
And so that's something that needs to be a little bit more controlled, I think. But from a lifestyle point of view, the sophistication of the place, the pure choice of what you can do there now has never been greater. And it really has changed over the last 10 years. The whole atmosphere of the country has changed. It's much more profitable than it ever was, much more economically solid.
Now, let's kind of do a little plug for Blacktower in a way. Let's talk about recruitment, because you're actively recruiting. And why would somebody come and work for Blacktower? And would it be, they've got the choice of Blacktower, they've got the choice of Nexus. And then as a caveat to that, how do things change under the, proposed Titan ownership?
Sure.
Will that kind of be affected?
Yeah. Well, it's true to say that Blacktower is recruiting. We have had quite interesting success over the last few weeks with advisors coming towards us, wanting to talk to us about joining the Blacktower Group, and with full knowledge of Titan in the background as well, because they're seeing that this global business opportunity that this takeover and then subsequent merger creates will really make a difference in the international space. It will be the first, I think, solidly global platform with the correct financial backing that exists out there in the retail space. And I must stress, it is the retail space we operate in. So we've had success with people coming towards us. With relation to the business model going forward, it's no change. I mean, we will continue to grow this business model, whether it probably won't continue to be called Blacktower forever, let's be honest. But for a period of time it will be. And the business models that sit underneath Blacktower will continue to grow and be supported. So we are open for business very much to anybody who wants to talk to us, who passes, of course, our criteria as well.
It's only a name, isn't it?
It's only a name.
It's only a name.
A 40-year-old name.
It's only a 40-year-old name that's very meaningful and has historical. I think I do get that impression with Titan's investment, that it's like carry on, business as usual. There's a reason that you get bought by them, as they seem to want to take over the world, which we'll come to in a second. But it does seem to be the business model, business as usual, carry on as you are.
Yeah, obviously I'm learning about Titan as we go along as well. I mean, I chose to do the deal with Titan as opposed to other offers that we had for very particular reasons. And it was really the strength, the presence, the whole atmosphere around the business. I also looked at what that meant internationally for Blacktower. And if you consider the strength of the existing Titan Wealth International team, a very strong management team based out in Dubai and elsewhere now, driving it, successful people, and then you put that together with our management team, you create pretty much the A team, I think, or the A+ team. And that's what I'm quite excited about.
Team. That's a new TV series brought to you by IATV, the A+ team. I like that. Let's put that on the back burner and have a think about how we can do something with that. I like that a lot. The consolidation, though, I mean, it's like, is that good for the end user at the end of the day? Just if Titan have still got a bunch of cash, I'm presuming, I've heard they've still got a bunch of cash. There's going to be there's some other deals that are out there that are about to be announced. Check out IA for the latest news stories on that, because there's other things coming down the pipes. But the consolidation, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I mean, look, try and be pragmatic here, John,
Yeah.
because you obviously are benefiting from this. But is it a good thing for the industry and the clients?
See, I don't see it as consolidation. I very much see this as an evolving new business story. The idea here is to create an international wealth platform by putting these businesses together, which has never been done on the scale before. What this gives is certainty to the advisor and, importantly, certainty to the client that this business will be run robustly, compliantly, have the correct licensing footprint, and the focus of the whole business and the mentality of the business is creating positive outcome for the client. That's where we're focused. And that has sometimes been lost in our industry. This is what I think this whole business opportunity brings that back to the table very, very firmly. So this is not a consolidation. This is a business opportunity for growth. And I firmly, firmly believe that.
Good answer. Like it. Firm answer. And you know, there is something to be said about scale. You know, when you've got the scale, you can be more competitive with charging structures and
Absolutely.
the rest.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I think with the scale of the business that we plan, as well as what happens naturally, I think we can deliver to the marketplace incredibly fair value. We all think now of consumer duty and fair value in Europe, which is the same as consumer duty, a different name. That is creeping in across the globe. So we need to be very conscious of that. We need to ensure we have fair value, the right price for the right client for the right service. That's going to make success.
No, absolutely. Just we're coming to the end of our chat, and it's flown by, hasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
It's just once you get going. Just what does John Westwood do for fun? What does the family do for fun?
Yeah.
How we talked about switching off before.
Yeah.
When you do switch off, how do you do that?
Yeah, we kind of have a bit of an in-house rule. We try not to do too much business at weekends. Sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes we're travelling.
Yeah.
Lindsay tries to avoid us travelling at weekends, but invariably, if you've got to do something, Saturday or Sunday, we're on an aeroplane going somewhere. Not great, if I'm honest with you. But when we're back in what we term as sort of Portugal and our home there, I've taken up golf. So I've become a keen golfer over the last 5 years. So that's working for me. But as a family, we do a lot of sailing. So when the weather's fine, Holly and Lindsay and I will be out on our boat and sailing away. I don't want to do much more of that in the future.
Sounds great. The look into the future. Look, we can have a crystal ball. We could, you seem extremely energized. I've known you a few years now. You've always had that positive outlook, and I must admit, I thought this deal's come in. There's a sail off into the sunset moment at some point, but it doesn't seem to be in your thinking at the moment. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, I guess it's hard to describe it, really. I mean, I love this business. I love this industry, and I'm very proud of what we've created in this industry. It's not something you just drop the ball and walk away from. That's just not me. So I'm going to be around for a while yet. And obviously I'm getting older now, so retirement has to be a real option. And the family are perhaps pressurising me a little bit now to slow down. And obviously I will be slowing down, but very much still want to be involved in the industry, very much want to be mentoring what we do. And I continually see amazing business opportunities in this business, which hopefully we'll be in a position to capitalise on them going forward.
Well, 40 years in the saddle, so to speak, and 40 years of of success with Blacktower. Long may it continue. Many congratulations on your 40th anniversary, and maybe we can get together here when it's the 50th anniversary in 10 years' time.
Well, hopefully I'll be sailing somewhere by then, but
maybe, yeah.
Who knows, yeah. No, and thank you for inviting me along. I've really enjoyed it.
No, it's been great. Thank you, John. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
Thanks for watching or listening wherever you get your podcasts. Join us again next time for In the Loop.